Good morning, everyone. My name is Julie Escobar. I'm founder and president of Global Women Fresh. Super excited to be here this morning. Carmell Clark, Fortune 500 executive coach, is joining me in our virtual coffee chats. And then also today we have Angela Hernandez from the Trinity Group, the Trinity Fruit Company, joining us. And we're looking forward to have a great discussion. Good morning, Carmel.
Hi, Julie. I love that we have, some history doing this now. It's going to be so fun having Angela today. I'm really excited.
I know the millennials trying to be the influencers.
We've been waiting. It's about time. Oh, let's get
So,
Angela on.
yeah, we're ready for Angela. So let's bring her in. Good morning, Angela. How are
Good
you?
morning, everyone. Hello, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Awesome, awesome.
So great to have you here. I'm really excited after we had our little pre-conversation and deep dive that just turned into just like we've been sitting around having this conversation for years is how it felt to me. So
That's great. Yeah, it was a great conversation. I loved it.
Awesome. So just a little bit of a kind of introducing what we're doing here to our community, to our global community. Our coffee virtual chats are a 45-minute chat, is a space for us to bring phenomenal women in our industry. And with the collaboration and partnership with Carmel, we are really trying to dive deep into these discussions, have a cup of coffee, and we really want to kind of push the boundaries, rock the boat a little bit, and really kind of bring refreshing ideas, not only for other women to learn about your own personal journey, how you got to where you are today, your reflections about being a women leader in our industry, but also with the collaboration of Carmel is how do we give more tools, leadership tools more for women and to continue to succeed. So with that, I would love Angela for you to tell us a little bit, obviously, of a little bit of you, what company you represent, and then we'll kick it off.
All right. So, again, my name's Angela Hernandez. I'm the Vice President of Marketing for Trinity Fruit Company. I've been with the company for 7 years, and I've been in the industry. I was actually counting last night. I think it's been about 20 years. So, started when I was a senior in college, just working as an assistant for a company out of Fowler, Fresno, and I think I was maybe 20, well, yeah, I was 22. So, and then ever since then, I just kind of grew, worked with a few other companies in my career, and ended up here at Trinity Fruit. And I love it. I love what I do. What I do is a passion, and therefore it makes light of work. It's not really work. It's actually something fun for me to enjoy.
that's
That's
always the
awesome.
best
That's awesome.
thing. Yeah. Feel the same way most days, right,
Yeah,
Julie?
agree. Yeah. Most days, and then we realize we're working, and we're like, wait, what?
Yeah, and
Exactly.
it's pretty cool to see your company because you guys are doing some really innovative things within the CPG world with beverages. So I seen your brand all over, very active at the all those shows, and just so I just kind of love that aspect of not only is the selling the fruit, but what you guys are doing in innovation. But where we want to focus today is a little bit more into the things that that we're passionate at Global Women Fresh, right? So, how do we bring obviously more gender equality into this world? Not only, as I mentioned this week in one of our posts in LinkedIn, I believe that women really have to be sitting at the table, right? So, how do we have more women at the table? I think that obviously, like you and me, we've been in the industry for over 20 years. We've seen a lot of change. Um, but how do we continue to give those tools? So with this, I'm going to pass it on to Carmel so we can kind of get deep into the conversation here.
Thank you so much, Julie. And also, I want to just welcome all of our people who've joined us. I can see so many of you hopping on and let us know a good morning. We love seeing you here. So thank you so much for being with us today. We're excited to have you meet Angela. Okay, so Angela, I really want to talk about how women, I want to kick it off by really talking about how women can own their voice. We're going to get into your story, but I really feel this has been a thing that keeps coming up frequently all the time, is in an industry that we know is male dominated, and that is the thing that we hear, continually when I interview women, is what is that? What is your key to really owning your voice being a woman in this industry? I want to kick it off from there.
All right. So I think the key is to own who you are. I don't think it's a battle of man versus women. I think that what it is it's really a collaboration within your team. I think, and I want to make this clear for some really amazing companies, and I don't think struggle was within the companies as far as being a woman in a man's world. I think it's a cultural issue within the industry, not an issue, but I would say it was an issue. I don't think it's an issue anymore, but it's agriculture, farming, it's male dominant. Those are the ones who are out there really, really farming and doing all of the hard work. So I think from a woman, you struggle, or you tend to want to make your ideas so that way sometimes you have to comfort zone, and
Looks like we got a little bit of connection issue there, Angela. You got?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to just kind of pick up where you were right then and there. So we do know, right, like in terms of land ownership, that's been primarily male, that women have a huge part in terms of the harvesting and packing and all of those things. In the industry, in the business side of the industry, I think what I'm hearing you say in that is that this has existed primarily in a male sphere, and now women are coming in. And what I love that you said so much, Angela, is that we need to own who we are first. Owning our voice starts with owning who we are. And I want to dig into that a little bit more, because I think that I had a conversation with a principal at another major fruit company just this week. And one of the things she said to me was, I feel really confident as the expert in my field, but I want to be able to contribute more into the other areas when I'm in those meetings. And I think that's an important thing to consider. And she also, talked about that challenge that we find. And I said to her, what if we didn't think about trying to do it the way that men do it, but do it the way that we do it as women? So I want to know what you think about that in terms of owning your voice. What are your thoughts, Angela?
Can you what was the question? Can you say the last part just about the
Sure.
owning, please?
Yeah. So in this conversation that I had with her, we were talking about, how to really own your voice in like the board meetings or in some of these other significant situations. And one of the things that I had brought up in that conversation was not trying to do it the way that men do it, or not trying to be like, I think the way I said it was be like men, but actually be like herself as a woman, right? That being the most important way to go. And it seems to me that that's more aligned with what you were saying, be yourself. I want to know your thoughts about that.
Okay, yeah. So I think women, I think we're more nurturing. We're more on the emotional side. So I think to be like women, or to be like us, is to continue to be that. If I think men think a certain way, men think one way, women think another. I think a woman should just come in, be herself, be that nurturing person, be that supportive female to the man. Don't lose sight of that. It's not, you don't want, I mean, I'm a woman. I don't want to be a man. I want to continue to be who I am. I want to continue to be nurturing, be emotional, and be all these things with respecting the man. And so I think, again, what I was saying before is just coming in more as a team member, as a partner with the male, and not necessarily an enemy. Because I think when you start to go man versus woman, then it starts to get combative. And I think when you come in together in unity and as a team, I think there becomes easier ways to work together.
Love that. I have some thoughts on that I want to jump back to. Julie, anything on that comes up that you wanted to
Oh my goodness, so many. Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that is very important for our audience, and as we continue to build the audience and for what we've been doing for the last 5 years is, we want to invite men to the conversation, right? The reality is that 90 to 95% of all the CEOs in our industry are men, right? So, I agree with you. This is not a man versus woman. But the reality is what we really want for this conversations is um, for us to inspire other companies, and how do we give the tools for women to have a space in where they can be successful, right? um, Especially, when we were doing the pre-interview with you, Angela, we talked a lot about, your team, and how do you really trust, and how do you really give the tools to your team so they can do the proper things with you or without you in the space, right? So I think when we think about women is, and especially women who have either kids or who have elders who are there taking care of those families, then how companies start giving the women the right policies, so that women can really manage all of what they have to do, right? So I think we kind of start getting there into the conversation deeper. We know we know the data is out there. We know that one of the reasons why women uh, tend to potentially stop in this, going up to the corporate ladder at the director level, is because they decide to have kids. And then when you have kids and a family and a career, then it really makes it very difficult to think about, hey, what's going to be the next level? Am I going to be a VP or a CEO, et cetera, et cetera? So I think that it's about, once again, how do we kind of help potentially companies? How do we help women? And how do we invite the male leaders of our industry to also be part of the conversation, to continue to push for that equality? Yeah.
Yeah, and it wasn't always easy. I've always worked for men, and I'm not a yes person. I think some of my girls are on here and they're probably laughing. I'm never a yes person. I stand if I feel strong about something and my boss or the owners do not feel strong about it, I still feel that way. I don't give in to because they don't like it. I think I shared with you guys on the pre-interview about just not I used to try to make it their idea because I knew that this is a way something should go, so let me try to make it their idea and then they'll jump on board. But then that starts to create wasted energy, so I started to just say, you know what, screw it, this is how I feel. Either you're going to take it or you're not going to take it. And so I tease my boss and I tell him that 98% of the time I'm right and 2% of the time I'm wrong, because usually if I don't feel strongly about something, I won't say it. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll admit it. But we kind of tease about that because I think he's learned, and I think if he were on here, maybe he would agree. I usually, and I'm not saying I'm always right because, oh, yay, Angela. It's just, if I feel strongly about something or I feel we should move a certain way, that's the way it should go. And I always tell him if he doesn't choose it, I always say, okay, remember that I said we should do X, Y, and Z. And he says, yes, I'll
But
remember.
I love that girl, because if I think back, you know back when I started it, 25 years ago, or when you're starting this deal, right? Like, here it is. And I was overly confident too. I was a very confident woman, but I was still, would play the room, be nice. I spent a lot of business and a lot of time of my career in the Asia Pacific rim. So managing cultures, language, especially in cultures where women are still very submissive. So it was that point of what you were saying, is like being assertive and just being able to say, no, this is what I really think we should do, and and go for it. And I think that a lot of women, especially when you're early parts of your career, I think that it's a little bit hard to see that happen. And
Mhm.
then it's fascinating that you took kind of the bull by the horns and said, okay, here we go, let's go, let's this is what I'm going to do, and deal with the aftermath of that.
And you know what? I really think that they respect when you actually hold, you hold your ground. I really think that when they see you say no, I think this is the way we should go. And you're not always a yes person. Yes, I love your idea. Yes, I love your idea. And you're like, I don't think that's going to work. I really think they respect you more. They might not come out and say it, right? Like um, that might not be what you're getting from them or what they're what you're perceiving from them, but I think that they really respect that. And I think that's how I got to where I'm at, is that I just kind of stood my ground. And I think they start to have this respect for you, and they start to see, okay, like, she's serious, because nobody wants a weak leader ever,
Mhm.
Mhm.
Right.
man or nobody wants a weak leader. So if you're always like, oh yeah, I love that idea, but deep down you're like, that's the stupidest thing ever, well then what kind of leader are you, so
Right. And I love that when you say that, Angela, there are a couple of things. First of all, um, the standing your ground, right, is you respecting yourself. And that's part of inherently what we're talking about here. If we own our value, from the outset, respecting ourselves is standing our ground. It doesn't mean that they're always going to take those ideas, and we can't take that personally, but we have to be completely invested in what we think is the best thing that we're putting forward and not back down from that. Is what I'm hearing you say. And I think that's right on. And then that creates the reputation of, I'm not going to, I'm not going to step back. I'm not going to hold back or hold my voice back in some way when I really think something or I have the ideas that I have. There's the other part that you said that I think is really key in this, that you said 98% of what I say, I'm going to be right when you're boss, right? And then you followed up with saying, so, you're going to do what you're going to do, but if it's not this, and you find out that I was right, remember that I said this. And I think that is another key in this process of us owning our voices as women, especially in an industry that is male dominated, especially at the top levels, right? That all too often women will have their ideas taken over by others around them. And one of the things that I teach and train on when I bring my leadership trainings into companies is teaching women how to make sure that they take back the ownership of their ideas, just like you described right there. And that's a matter of self-respect, and having good tools and good ways to go about that, like you just talked about, I think is key, because otherwise it can be demoralizing over time. It can undermine our own worth and value inside when we watch our great ideas being, taken, or they come around to it eventually, but they don't recognize that we were the ones that said it. And that's essential. I think that's really important. So I'm really glad that you came back around and we were able to touch on that, because you had talked about that in our earlier conversation. I think that's great. Can we pivot now to something else? I would really love to dive into, and Julie just has these great questions. Like, she's like the constant question creator. So I have to give her total credit on this. But um, what would you say? How do you overcome self-doubt, especially in high stakes marketing or leadership situations, when you find yourself in that place?
how do I overcome self-doubt? Well, first is, you know, I think the first thing I do is one, talk to myself, kind of get out of my head. Sometimes I think we get in our own way. And then I think another is communicating with my circle, my close circle, professional and personal, and just kind of talk to them about how I'm feeling, what's going on. And I think it's important to share when you're in these situations, because it'll really help you to understand, you know, what's going on realistically. Sometimes I think we're our worst enemies, we're our worst critics. And I think it's good to really go deep, find out where that self doubt is coming, talk about it with your peers, and two, do things scared. Like sometimes I think we're afraid to do things because we are scared, but that self-doubt will only help us grow. Um, when we face those things, not everything is, butterflies and rainbows. You're going to have these thoughts, and I think that they're normal and they're good to have because they force you to become better. And yeah, they create you to become a better person. You don't want to stay stagnant and you want to continue to keep growing. And I think that's important. I think it's just talking it out is the best way to answer that question.
And I love what someone just posted. Your tribe helps you overcome self-doubt. I think, like, man, creating a tribe is so important. And as I said, 20 years when I started it, 25 years when I started it, I remember just going to the shows, being alone, and slowly but surely when we founded Global Women Fresh, it's like, yeah, let's have more women support each other. Like, let's have women. We may not be the best golfers. We don't go play golf at the shows, but we don't not always do we want to play, go to the bar and have drinks. But how do we create the tribe so then we can support each other? Angela, I want to also, with kind of following Carmel's question here, maybe dive a little bit. I know, obviously, personally, you've shared with us your own personal journey in the last 2 years of what you've gone through, some, challenging times with your health, and I think it's such an inspiration, which is very connected to self doubt, right? I think that when life hits you hard with this moments of health or losing someone or just so many different scenarios, and they just kind of really kind of develop the core of your personality. So we would love for you to, as much as you can or as little as you can, to share a little bit of that journey. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. One of the questions that you asked, that you sent me on Monday was, what's one pivotal moment in your career that helped you build real confidence as a leader? And, I thought about that, and I was thinking there were many pivotal moments, but one is, I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2023. And that really was, it changed my life personally and professionally. I was traveling all the time. I was always on a plane. I was always on the go. I was living life so fast. And this stopped me in my life. It stopped everything. And I remember, I just remember stopping. I remember everything. All my plans of all travel just stopped, and it was all about my health. And that really shaped me as a leader. It really it stopped me in my tracks. It really helped me to let go. I was a micromanager. I was a control freak. I wanted everything to be perfect. Every little move that we did in the marketing department, I needed to know what was happening, and I wanted to make sure that my hand was helping move the pieces. And this really helped me to lift my hands up and say, "All right, girls, you guys, I'm not going to do this. I don't want to stress. I don't want to worry." And they were amazing. And so it helped me build more trust in my team. It helped me to stop being a control freak. It helped me to allow my team to grow. And I didn't see this, but now looking back, they are just doing amazing. And now that I'm on this side of, I'm cancer free. 2 years later, cancer free. Just finished my final surgery, reconstruction surgery, 2 weeks ago today. And they're amazing. And when I came back to work, I told them, nothing's changing. You guys are still going to be doing everything. They're traveling, they're moving. We added one more gal to our department, and they are doing amazing. And now I sit back and I'm less stressed. I'm able to enjoy my life. I'm learning what work-life balance is. And I am, you don't, just because my hand isn't moving the pieces, I'm actually being blessed more in watching them grow. And we're able to do so many more things because everybody's able to utilize their skills. And it means so much to me. So if there's anything that helped me become a better leader, it is that. Cancer is such a terrible thing. And yeah, it's terrible. But you know what? It is something that changed my life for the better. It made me a better human. It made me a better daughter, sister, friend, coworker, and I just want to be a better me. Just all the way around. Some people say that one guy, a good friend of mine, a male, he said, COVID, it saved his soul. It changed him, and you never wish cancer on anybody, but cancer saved me, and it really, really shaped me into a better person. And so I really, um, I'm a huge advocate for eating healthy. Now it's like, now I was always that before, with our products and fruit and our juices, but now even more so. Now I'm like, you know, eat healthy, do all the things you can. And yeah, because life is short. And sometimes life happens and it stops you, and it really makes you shift your perspective on things, but all in the better. I can look at it and be like, womp womp, poor me. And some people, they go through a cancer journey and they're really down, and then some people, you can look at things that you can't yet see, but you can see them in your mind and only hope that you see them one day. And now I'm sitting here and I can say that 2 years ago, I was looking ahead at something I couldn't see, but now I see it. So I'm so thankful.
That's amazing.
Well, thank you, Angela, for sharing that part of your story, and it's really inspirational to see, a lot of other women who are here in the chat just kind of just
Wow.
saying amazing things about you. So really, thank you for sharing such a personal part of your story, and yeah, and I think that when I met you early this year for Logistica Berlin, I think that was kind of one of the moments, right, and where your energy and your being a leader, but being humble enough to share that process and what you have gone through. I just really really appreciated that.
Thank you.
So thank you for sharing that with this chat, Carmel.
Yeah. Thanks, Julie. I also really resonated with what you talked about in seeing the challenge that cancer brought to you, seeing that challenge as an opportunity for full aliveness, and to really bring that full aliveness into every part of your life, professionally and personally, right? I think that all too often we feel like we have to um, segment everything, right? Compartmentalize in an extreme way. And yet, a couple of things on that. First of all, we aren't compartmentalized, human beings. Like, that's not how we're built. And then second of all, I think especially for women, I see this, and I think men should have the opportunity and the permission to do this more as well, right? But as women, we are this wholeness that we bring to everything we do. You talked about the compassion, you talked about the warmth and the nurturing parts of things, that we want to grow everything around us. And I think that tends to be true for the most part. And I guess I want to point out, with the story that you shared with us, incredibly brave and courageous, and also thank you for, because I am absolutely sure there are so many other women and men out there, because men are also affected by the women in their lives walking through a cancer experience, or they may have their own version, that your story can really resonate there, as well as a story of holding to and hope, and being able to see hope into that bigger picture, right? That's there. So I really appreciate that you said that. But this thing that this thing that you had said that I wanted to just touch into is going deep. Where is the self-doubt coming from? And being able to see that as, this is a growth path for me. This is a way that I can grow. And as you walked through this journey itself, the person who came out, as you described, was somebody who didn't need to, you learned how to let go of things. You're like, oh, the way I'm doing things is not going to help me get through this journey that I'm on. Yes, that's sparking something, please.
Yeah, I was, like I said, control freak. So, I couldn't focus on projects and this and that. I needed to focus on my health. I needed to focus on, um, just being letting my just letting myself be free, not being tied to things, and not feeling stressed, not feeling overwhelmed. And don't get me wrong, through the whole journey of going through chemo, I would still go into the office bald as an eagle. I was there. Not every day, not all the time, not long hours, but I would go in and I would still sit. And it's so funny because I don't even know why I did it. Chemo brain is really a thing. So I would go in and I don't even, my boss is talking about some project we were working on, and I go, we did? And he was like, yeah. And I'm like, wow, chemo brain was really a thing. I don't, I don't even know why I went in the office. I was like going one ear and out the other. I don't know what was happening. I do remember things, but I don't remember, like, wasn't really paying attention. I think I just wanted to still feel like I still had my normal life, but I wasn't, I didn't want to be stressed. I wanted to just be free and to let my spirit really be healed. I wanted to let my mind be healed. I think when your body is going through a war, your mind needs to be free. You need to have the freedom in your mind, the freedom in your spirit to allow your physical body to be healed. If you are not all these things here, your body is going to be struggling. So I just wanted to be free. So I just had to let go and allow my team to do it. And whatever that looked like, I even said, like, hey, if you guys fail, it's okay. You get back up and you're going to learn. And that's how I had to look at it too. If something gets messed up, oh, well, it's going to happen. I mean, that's how we learn. So
Which
till
is
this,
something you never did before, ever.
oh no, I was a perfectionist. We were not failing. Everything was going to be perfect. We were going to double check everything. And the girls were amazing until this day when they come back and they bring things and like, okay, what do you think? And I sit back and I say, what do you guys think? What do you guys want to do?
Mm.
Recently I had my surgery, and so I emailed Jerry, and I told her, hey, we need to think of this campaign for this new cranberry juice that we're going to launch, and by the time I come back, I want you guys to have it all. Talk to the team. Usually I'd want to be in, and don't get me wrong, I sat on my couch while I'm healing last week or 2 weeks ago, and I'm like thinking of campaigns on my phone with my notes, and I'm going to town, and I text them late at night because I'm a late at night worker. If I can't sleep,
Me too.
I'll research, I'll read, and they get emails at like 10, 11, and they're probably like, this girl is crazy. But anyways, still do that. That hasn't changed. But I did email them. Nobody responded, and I was like, they got it. It's all good. Usually I'd be irked, like, nobody responded to me. Did they even get my message? But I was like, whatever. Next week, they were like, we have this whole Google Drive. We put all these ideas on here. To be honest, I didn't even want to look at it. I just said, whatever you guys pick it. It's all good. And they did. And they can own that. They did it. I had nothing to do with it. So when you guys see the campaign, they did it. They were amazing. And I was just stress-free on my couch healing from a surgery. And it was wonderful.
That's incredible. There are two things you said that I think really stood out for me there. One was that your company, Trinity Fruit, right, that you've had the support. And I think that's part of what Julie was saying earlier, this ability in the industry for companies and organizations to recognize their ability to support their people, and in this case, you as a woman executive. This is so important, and you can get more, you get better and more when, companies take that stance of supporting their people. And I want to point that out. I think that's incredible. It's a great example for us. And on the other side, your ability to support your team, to be their very best and to trust them. That is, and I hear that you have, a lot of women on your team, empowering them in the way that you approach to actually step into their own next level of leadership, right? I think that's the legacy building that we really want to see in great leadership in an industry that's so important. So thank you for both of those.
Absolutely.
Julie.
I want to pivot a little bit the conversation because obviously we have we have a lot of different women here and a lot of people, a lot of great comments, and we want to give them a little bit of an opportunity to chime in. So as you are in the live chat, feel free to ask questions so we can pass them on to Angela and kind of incorporate this in the discussion. But Angela, I would love to hear your take on taking it a little bit back to the business, right? Like, I know that obviously we all know, there's so much going on right now. Think about, as leaders in the industry, you're dealing with, my goodness, challenges at the farm level with labor, sustainability, water, weather, tariffs, all of the things and all the complexities. Uh, Being a profitable company, pushing your brand, making sure that the message is connecting with consumers. I mean, there's so many pieces of the chain. Um, what's your take? What's your take on what's happening in the industry? What's happening with all of these components? And then ultimately, how does that, either how does that affect or how does that not affect your team, especially for women, the conversation around women, right? Is something that you're seeing women to be a little bit more like burnout, like, oh, one more problem in the industry, it's or how do you see all of these things playing out for the advancement of women in general?
So right now, yeah. So the owner of the company, David White, he's very, he talks to me about a lot of things that are moving around in our industry from I guess from the top. So when you're talking about tariffs, water, and all those things, until it's an issue that's going to impact what we're doing, does he bring it to light? Like, hey, we need to start talking about this, or hey, we need to really work on these kind of things. So as far as tariffs right now, that's not really something we're discussing. It hasn't came to really affect us yet. Yes, on some packaging levels, yes. Um, we're working through those things right now. But yeah, we're always talking about things. We're always talking about how can we navigate through this as far as water, as far as waste. We're on a zero waste mission as far as waste, waste within the food industry. So that's how we came up with the juice. We're on a zero waste mission. So instead of sending our fruit to cattle ranches and to selling it off to other juice companies, we decided, let's, instead of wasting product or to the wayside, in general, let's create
Mhm.
other products. So we did that. So there are things that we work with David on, and we don't really work on them until we think it's time. And so with some of the things you mentioned, I don't think it's time yet. But
Mhm.
as far as water, where we work on I can't think it off the top of my head right now, but like this whole sustainability thing within
The
our company.
sustainability.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we have that. We work on that, and in our juice is part of that zero waste initiative and a part of the whole water usage, and even our aerial system, and how we reuse and do all that whole
The
what's called
sustainability piece is an interesting one.
sustainability thing in
Yeah.
general. But yes, we do talk about things. I mean, until he's ready to, he sits with me every week. We have standing weekly marketing meeting. So he usually brings up these issues. Hey, we're dealing with this, or hey, we're dealing with that, and just always being communicative about what's going on. And I think that's key. I think it's key to really talk about these things. Sometimes I think owners don't talk to their employees about what's happening, and I think it's important that you do. And he's very great about talking about that. Sometimes I think he over talks, but he does. I think it's amazing. So yeah.
That's an excellent point. I think that having leaders who obviously communicate clearly to what's happening to the team and to being able to make the team part of this whole story of part of the growth. It's critical. And yeah, the sustainability piece is something that I think that for us at Global Women Fresh, we're very focused. It's very connected in how we actually reinvest the dollars that we
Yep.
get from our sponsors. So we just did a really phenomenal project last year of specifically around water in Peru. So obviously Peru it's a big country for our industry. And the berry industry and the blueberry deal is critical. And women at the farm level are being potentially displaced because of water in the irrigation system. So if the women don't have the technical skills to deal with the irrigation system, they wouldn't be able to apply for the jobs. And one of the things that we did as Global Women Fresh, we partnered with a non-for-profit in Peru, and we were able to provide about more than 25 different scholarships to women farmers who are now having the technical skills who can actually now then apply for those jobs.
That's
So
amazing.
that's so it's pretty cool, right? So I think that the sustainability piece, um, and I'm not just saying it, it's part of, once again, big part of the data of United Nations, that as we kind of want and fight for the goal of having more equality around the world, and specifically in our industry, in the ag industry, is very important to look at the entire supply chain, all the way from the farm to the table. And then once again, how do we provide the tools potentially to those women at the level of the farm level, but at the same time, then how do we take it all the way here to the women at the office, right? So
Yeah.
so with that, and because we're kind of coming to our time here, and I know Carmel, you probably have a lot more questions, but would love to hear, Angela, a little bit of your kind of like, if you were to say my advice to women is, what would that be? What would that advice be to the women who is 35, have a director role, who's still struggling with a family and kids, and what would that advice be?
So I've said this for many years. I have three brothers. So, we always kind of joke back, but I always say, hey, women have balls. We just wear ours on our chest. So the advice to the women that I'm going to give is to remember that your balls are on your chest and you have them too. So just be strong in who you are. Be a sponge. Take it in and take in that sponge everything you can. Sometimes we don't even realize this, but sometimes we get paid to learn. And so just take it in, and what doesn't make sense or what doesn't suit you, squeeze out that sponge and let it out. And what makes sense, hold it in. And don't give up. Don't give up on yourself just because it doesn't happen now or it doesn't happen tomorrow. As long as you keep going and you keep staying positive and you just keep going, keep being positive, keep being the best you can be better than you were yesterday. You don't ever want to be the same person. You're going to get there. And so that's my advice, is just hold your own. You're who you are. Be you, be the best version of you, and that's the advice I can give.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
I
I
love it.
love
I have to tell you, I'm just, I always, my say is like, take the bull by the horns, but now is take the bull by the balls. I mean, I get,
Yeah, for sure. And now I really
I
tell my
love
brothers, I'm like,
that.
I really have balls on my chest now. Like, this is real. So, no, and it is. It's true, because and that's the thing. It's like women are viewed differently because of the traditions. And listen, I come from a very traditional family. I'm not married, but I think that the day that I do become married, I'm going to take care of my husband like my mom takes care of my dad. She makes sure he's fed. If she goes out of town, she makes sure my dad has dinner. There's all those things. And I still do that. Like, just because I'm in the position I am, like, I still, like, when my boss, if the owner has a meeting and I'm out of this conference, I'm like, hey, do you guys want water? Like, I'm still me. I'm still that traditional woman that I was raised to be. It doesn't take away, just because you're in a place of a place of power and a place of a leadership, does not mean that you're exempt from being a traditional woman. It doesn't mean that you have to be like, you can't still do these things. You can still be.
Sure.
It makes you even a better woman. So
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
forget that either.
I think it's a good one. I mean, being bold, but at the same time being compassionate and kind and generous, which are some of the things that women we're just, we're just like that. Our DNA, that's how we're programmed, right? But I think that a lot of women, and especially also me at the beginning of my career, I struggle with that. Like, am I being bold, or am I being generous, or am I being compassionate? And I think that that's today. I mean, I think it's the beauty of being, and one of the strengths that we have, right, is being able to be this beautiful like chameleon. So we are kind of in the 45-minute here. So I know that our community has to kind of get the day going. Any questions that we have from our participants, or Carmel? Any last final comments?
Yeah, while we're waiting and inviting questions from our participants, one of the things I want to point out that I was hearing in what you were talking about, Angela, and what you were talking about, Julie, is in that extending of ourselves with all the great parts of us, including the compassion and the warmth and the more nurturing, that kind of thing. What I also hear in that is the owning of our own self-respect and our own value, like giving ourselves credit also. And I think that's an important thing to mention, because for some women, it just comes naturally. Like we just own our own self-respect, and we hold that space inside that says, I'm not going to be disrespected, and I'm going to own my value to myself. And of course, everybody else is going to have to catch up to that, and they should. I think that's a good way to go. But there are some women that they don't start from that place. And I want to make sure that we've said that out loud today, that it's a good reflection point to say, when I do show up in these ways where I am helpful, or I am, even as a leader in these different ways, am I also owning my power and giving myself credit, and owning my value in that, whole process to myself, right? And I think I want to make sure that that's said, because there are real power dynamics that happen in business, and that's the constant every day. And I want to make sure, we are responsible for making sure that we stay centered in our own power. And for some women that tends to be easier, and for others it tends to be harder. And I want to make sure we are supporting all women in really staying centered in their power and finding their way to it, if that's where they are. So, all right. So that's the thing that I wanted to kind of add in, that I love that I was getting from this whole conversation that we were talking about. And do we have any questions, any thoughts, any insights that people want to share? We'd love to bring that in. If you have a burning question that's been hanging out there.
Yeah, it seems like we don't have any questions at the moment, but just really overall great comments from the participants. And yeah, I just want to take a minute here. Angela, thank you so much for giving us your time this morning and sharing a cup of coffee with us.
Of course.
Once again, we find your story to be very inspirational. We look forward to to keep connecting with you and your team, and really kind of expanding. And not only thank you to Carmel for being here this morning, to all of our sponsors, and to our guests, and of course to the Produce Network for hosting all of this. And super excited. Oh, there's one question. Hold on. The last one. What is Angela looking forward to for this year?
Ooh, that's a great one.
Oh, what am I looking forward to? I'm looking forward to complete restoration in my health. I'm looking forward to just this new season of my life, personally and professionally. I don't do things the way I used to anymore. And so to see what that looks like in my career is going to be interesting. Just, I think that letting go allows more things to flow. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what that looks like. I'm looking just forward to just working on more things with my team, growing my team, and watching them grow. I think people, you don't realize how satisfying that is when you see your team growing. It brings joy to my heart. And so I am so thankful. They're all on here, and I just want to say, I want to give them a shout out for being on here. for being with me in the hardest times, and just for being amazing. They when they send me messages when they're gone, or they FaceTimed me at every trade show that I missed during chemo. I was again bald, and they would FaceTime me so I could see everybody. They made me feel like I was still a part, and they will never know how much that meant to me. And I just want to give them a shout out. They are an amazing team. They work really hard, and I think it's so important for leaders to really, really pump up your team and really just support them. And they're amazing. And I that's what I look forward to this year, is watching them grow, watching them flourish, because that brings joy to my heart. And I'm so thankful to be here to watch it.
That's awesome. Awesome.
I'm thankful
Well,
you're
thank
here.
you for sharing that, and great question, and yeah, and fascinating to learn more about the group, the Trinity Farm Group, and to learn that you guys have such a, tight energy together. So it's really wonderful. So with that, I would say that wishing everyone a wonderful day, a wonderful weekend, happy Easter, obviously, and
Yeah.
we look forward to see you all in our next month in our chat.
Yeah, and thank you especially to Patrick and Juanita and the Produce Network again for hosting us here today, because they've made this all possible, and they are brilliantly expert at this and professional. We're super grateful to them.
Yes, thank you, Julie and Carmel, for having me on, for meeting with me. You guys are amazing, and for just creating this community for women. I think it's important for everybody. So it's just
Awesome.
it's cool to lift each other up. So thank you guys both. You guys are incredible, and also women, men, don't forget, check your tatas.
Great message. Thank you, everyone.
Everybody, thank
Bye.
you. Thank you. Take
Bye.
care.